Hi, welcome to tutorial 3. Okay, so we're working on the cross section, and we're not going to go too much farther with it. We'll finish it at the end of the drawing. This is just so you get an idea of how we're building this house. We've talked about the foundation being below. This is the grade line here, 8 inches above grade is the top of the foundation where we start our floor joist running across the 28 feet, the width of the house. Okay, on top of that floor we built the walls, the exterior walls, out of they're 6 inches thick. Okay, so we're not going to use anything 28 feet long to do this floor with. It's just not economical. What we're going to do is we're going to divide it in half right in the middle. Okay, and so if I draw a line right down the middle, F8, okay, and I offset, let's say 1.5 inches, okay, and then I trim this, and I trim it. Actually, it'll go through the concrete slab. Okay, so that pretty much is a symbol for a steel post. It'll be a steel adjustable post. So as this building shrinks, as it dries out, moves as it dries out, there's adjustment in this post to put everything back to the way that it was built originally, stops the drywall from cracking and the floors from squeaking. Okay, so we call that a telepost. Underneath that telepost and underneath this slab, very similar to this continuous footing that we have, we need separate little footings underneath each post that we're going to install here. So I'm going to offset 8 inches. Typically they're 8 inches deep, and typically they're 30 inches wide. So I'm going to offset 15 on either side of the center line. Okay, and then I'm just going to clean it up. Okay, so you can see that's a pad underneath there, a concrete pad. Okay, it's underneath the slab, and we're going to erase this center line now, and we can do one more trim here, okay, to show that this post is actually going through the slab, sitting on top of this footing. Okay, so if we would have kept, let's put back that line and run it right to there and then trim it. Okay, so we've shown that now the floor joists or the floor trusses are divided in the middle, and that we're supporting weight in the center to an outside wall, and again from center to this outside wall. Now if you go to plan view, I may have one of these right where my crosshairs are, and another one, and another one, and another one. You know, I may do it 4 equal times, depending, once we get down to doing the structural and we start looking at the span tables, what kind of material I need to span whatever length I need. Okay, so there'll be a series of these posts and pads running down the center of the building, and on top of them will be a beam running continuously all along, and then our floor joists will run from the outside to the center. Okay, so again, we're not going to size the beam right now. We're just going to show a symbol for a beam, and so if I offset something like 3 inches, you know, from the center again, and then offset something like 12 inches, I might be using 2x12s, or I might be using a 12-inch microlam beam, or I might be using less. We'll figure that out later. Okay, and then I trim so that, okay, and then I can show a symbol for a beam. Okay, so we can trim this. Okay, so there's a steel post with a beam running all the way 58 feet down the middle of the building, okay, with joists coming from either side. Okay, that's how we're pretty much going to do that. Now, this also could be a wall down here. Okay, we could pour another footing like this, down the middle of the wall and put an actual studded wall to support the center. And it depends on what he wants for his basement. That's a much cheaper way of doing it than buying teleposts and a heavy-duty beam like that. Okay, the roof. Part of this building, if we go back to our floor plan here, this back half with the master bedroom and so on will be a flat ceiling, and the roof will be done pre-engineered, pre-made, delivered on a truck, trusses. Okay, roof trusses, and we'll show something like that. Whereas the front of this building, where he's got the view and where he's got the picture windows in the front and the rake windows in the front, will have a sloped ceiling, and so will be built out of rafters. Okay, so we'll show, just to give you an idea, again, this is not a complete cross section. Okay, we'll design a roof with trusses. Okay, we've already established with the client that our pitch is 512. Okay, so no matter if you're using metric or no matter if you're using imperial feet and inches, okay, this roof is in 12 units in the X direction, right, horizontally, is rising 5 units, 5 inches, 5 feet, 5 meters, whatever you're using. Okay, so I'm going to start with a line, and I'm going to pick the outside of this wall, and then I'm going to tell AutoCAD by saying at to go from that point. Okay, and in the X direction I want to go 12, comma, to go into the Y direction, and 5. Okay, so there is a line at a 512 pitch. Okay, so I'm going to mirror this line to the other side of my building. Okay, and then I'm going to fillet the two of them. So there's, you can see my roof. Okay, so at the back of the house over the master bedroom, this ceiling will be flat, and at the front of the house, in the living room, the ceiling will match this 512 pitch. And in order to do that, I have to use rafters, okay, which are the same as floor joists, only at an angle. And because I have to insulate this and leave an airspace, I need at least 14 inches of depth. Okay, and so for this particular job I'm going to use the same material as I used for the floor. I'm going to use eye trusses, and they're going to be 14 inches, so offset 14. Okay, actually let's undo that and let's offset 14 in the other direction. Okay, underneath that point, right at the center here, I'll need a beam and a post, just like I have here. Okay, it won't be a metal beam, it'll probably be a bunch of 2x6s nailed together. It will sit right on top of this beam, okay, and be supported all the way down through the basement into this footing. Okay, so if I drew a line center and I offset 3 inches on the other side to make a 6-inch post, okay, and then I take a line from, let's say, here, and I offset 12 again, okay, not knowing what size this beam will be until we do the structural. Okay, don't like that. Okay, fillet this one. Okay, so offset 14. I picked the wrong one and lost it. Okay, so you see how that's going to work. Okay, I have a beam with a post underneath it, right on top of this beam, right on top of that post, right on top of that footing. Okay, now the other end, the master bedroom end, will be built out of trusses, and they are prefab. Okay, so I can get rid of this line. Okay, and typically a truss will be, I'm going to get rid of this post and stuff too, we don't need it for a truss. will look exactly like you see. It'll come on a truck looking exactly like this. It'll be 28 feet wide. It'll be built out of 2x4s in most cases. Okay, it's engineered at the manufacturer, so they designate what it's built out of. Typically, when we're drawing a symbol for it, the first thing we have to do is leave about 5.5 inches at the heel of the trusses, so offset 5.5. Okay, and that's where the bottom of this truss will be. So I'm just going to move this line to there. I'm going to move this line to there. Okay, typically it's going to be built out of 2x4s. So I'm going to offset 4 inches. Okay, I am going to use a 2-foot overhang on this building. I've talked to the client. All the way around his building he wants 24-inch overhang, so offset 24. Okay, and then I'm just going to clean it up. Fillet that to that, that to that. Okay, I'm going to draw a line from there to there. Okay, now that's not actually true. We would offset 4 inches, okay, for that bottom chord, and then we would just draw a line to the inside of the wall, 6 inches. Okay, now we can clean it up. We can trim, and we'll get rid of that. We'll get rid of that, and we'll get rid of that. Oh, let's just put that one back. Okay, trim this up. So that would be done at a manufacturer. That would be a 2x4, 2x4, whatever they use inside. It would be put together with gang. There's strips of metal with knockouts in them, and they're rolled onto these joints, and they make it very tight and very strong. And okay, we finish this up. Now there would be a cord in the middle, probably a cord in the middle here, and then another cord like that. Okay, and so this whole truss system, okay, would be built out of 2x4s, and it would be designed to hold however much snow sits on top for whatever area that you're in. So there's a snow load for every area, and these trusses will be engineered for that snow load. Okay, so as we are designing this house, we just show the fact that they are trusses. We don't actually design the truss. That's the manufacturer will do that. Okay, that's about the roof. That's about as far as we need to go on the cross section. Let's go back to designing the plan view here. Okay, I'm going to start in the bathroom, and if you look at the drawing that my client gave us, okay, the sketch, he has a bathtub along this wall. He has a toilet beside it, and then a vanity. So we're going to bring those in. AutoCAD Design Center. Again, basic blocks drawing that I've given you. Double-clicked on blocks to get to the blocks within that drawing. So, I need a bathtub. Oh, there's a toilet. We need one of those. We need a sink, and we need an ordinary bathtub, 5-foot bathtub. Okay, I'm going to put Design Center away. So these came in as blocks. Blocks, I brought them in. I'm working on layer 0, and so in order for these blocks to go back onto the layer that they're supposed to be on, I'd have to explode them. But I don't want to right now because they're easier to move as blocks. They only have the one node. I make that node live, double click twice to get into rotate, and move it in the direction I want, which is right there. Grab it and put it right there. Okay, that's simple. Fits right into a 5-foot space. Okay, I need to designate space for the toilet, and typically that would be 3 feet, okay, is what I want for a toilet. If I take a line somewhere from the center of that up, and I offset 3 feet, okay, extend it down. This is going to be the space I'm allotting for the toilet. I'm going to rotate the toilet, move the toilet, F8's off, anywhere within that space. I'm not building it. It really depends on what tub they buy, how wide that tub is. I've left lots of room here. No matter what tub they buy, I should fit in there nicely. I now have to put a vanity in and then put the sink in the vanity. I'm just going to rotate the sink around. Okay, I'm just going to punch in 180. Okay, so we've turned it around 180 degrees. I'm going to make it live and just bring it in closer to where I want to work here. Okay. What happened to my toilet? Oh man, everything went. I'm just going to undo. No, I'm not. I'm going to rotate it around 180. Okay, I guess it was live when I did the sink. Okay, and I'm going to put it in here somewhere. And then I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to move it. Okay, I figure that vanity is, you know, a nice length for a single vanity is about 4 feet. They're all over the place, so they're inexpensive to buy. And typically it's 22 inches deep. And so I'm going to offset 4 feet. And I'm going to offset 22 inches. Okay. And then I'm going to move my sink in there. Okay. So that's the layout of the bathroom. We can get rid of this construction line. Okay, I've left 3 feet. I put a normal bathtub in 4 feet. I'm going to extend this to here. And then I'm going to offset 4 inches. So that's going to be the outside wall of my bathroom. I'm going to fillet it. Okay. I need to put a door in this bathroom. So I'm going to use the door list routine that we've put in Upload. Okay. You get into it by typing in door. Okay. The first thing it's asking you is from an offset point, so I'm just going to pick the inside. Okay. Now the reason I picked that inside corner was because this little list routine wants you to pick in the direction of the swing, and I want to swing this door in against that other wall, so I picked the inside of the wall. It's asking me for an offset point, and I'm going to accept 4 inches, which is the minimum that a framer needs to put in a door. He needs double studs on either side of that door, plus he needs the door opening to be 2 inches bigger than the actual size of the door, and so 4 inches is 2 studs, 3 plus an inch. Okay, so that works perfectly. So I'll accept 4. Approximate light or strike location. Well, where does that door end? Well, it's approximately here. Now, if I were to pull it way out to here, I would end up with a double door. This list routine would just draw a double door. So again, I'm going to pick somewhere around here. It's asking me for the opposite direction, the opposite face, or the opposite wall, and so I'll pick that. It's asking me for the size of the door. Well, a typical door for a bedroom bathroom would be 30 inches. 30, enter. There's my door. Okay. We need a glass of water is what we need. Okay. Hallway. Okay. We made us excuse me, we made his stairs 42 inches wide, and so we'll make his hallway 42 inches wide. So offset 42. Offset 4. There's the hallway. Okay? These lines extend. Okay? Trim. Okay, we need to put another door in. We're just going to steal this one. So we're going to copy that plus that from right in that corner, and we're going to put it right in that corner. Then we're going to trim that and that. Okay. Offset 4 inches for that minimum framing. Okay, that's where we can start this return wall over to the outside. So extend. Okay, then we're going to offset 4 inches. And then we're going to trim everything up. Okay. Okay. That pretty much looks like his drawing. We're going to extend this hallway right to here and trim it up. Okay. Now he shows a vanity along this outside wall here where my crosshairs are, and it has 2 sinks in it. So a really nice size for that would be 8 feet. 4 feet for a single, 8 feet for a double. So we're going to offset 22 for the width of our vanity, and then we're going to offset 8 feet for the length of our vanity. Okay, offset 4 inches for that wall and trim it up. Okay, so there's our vanity. Now, they show a door going into this back part of the bathroom, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my 4-inch minimums. Okay, so offset 4. Offset, I'd like a 30-inch door in here, so 30. Okay, so that's going to be my door space. Okay, and I'm going to trim. Okay, offset another 4. Okay, oops, zoom in a little bit. Okay, now offset 4. Okay, that's going to be where my wall is for the walk-in closet. Okay, so offset 4 for the wall. Okay, there we go. Trim. I like to trim as I go. Okay, the closets for a closet that you're going to hang things in, coat hanger, which is what this will be, this walk-in closet. A typical shelf over top would be 16 inches. Okay, so we'll offset 16. Okay, all the way around. We'll put shelves and coat hangers all the way around. We'll fillet these. Okay, we'll trim here. Okay, now if I offset 2 inches, okay, and fillet those, that would show the position of my coat hangers. And because they're underneath and you don't really see them, okay, this is basically a symbol. Okay, we're just going to put those on the head, the hidden layer, which is going to make them a dotted line. Okay, I'm going to explode this guy, and so now when I click on any one of these lines, you can see it's on the utility layer. Okay, I'm going to use that. I'm going to match properties, MP, and I'm going to put all of these, whoops, if I can get on them, onto the utility layer. Okay, I have to get into this walk-in closet, and they're showing a swing door, and they're actually showing it into the space. And I'm not sure I like that. It would, every time you went into that closet, you'll be hitting somebody that's using the vanity. Let's copy this one. Okay, I want to multiple copy it. The newer programs will just do that right off the bat. Okay, and I'll put show the plumber. There's 2. Okay. Okay. So there'll be people standing here washing their face. There's actually not a wall here. This is going to be just an opening. So I'm just going to offset 4 inches and 4 inches and extend and trim. Okay, and maybe clean it up a little bit more. Okay, here I'll have a door going into that area, and the drawing shows me. Actually, I have a closet in here. Let's do that. Okay, so offset a closet, okay, that you're going to hang things in, needs to be 24 inches deep minimum. Okay, so again, you have this 16-inch shelf and this closet rod, and so 25 inches to account for drywall, half an inch on the other side would give you 24 of a finished opening. And so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to offset. We already are in offset, and we'll go 25. Ooh, offset 4. Okay, well, we're not going to make it there. The other thing is I need 36 inches for my toilet, so I'm going to offset 36 for this area in here. Okay, so that'll be my toilet space, offset 4. Okay, this will be my closet. You can see we're running into problems with that door. Okay, well, I'm going to stretch, and I'm going to take it back, turn F8 on, about a foot. Okay, and then I'm going to offset 30. Okay, so that'll be my new position for that door. Okay, I can erase this, and I can trim. Okay, that all works. So I've got the 36 inches. I have way more of a closet than they were doing, but we'll see what they say. Okay, 36 inches. How much have I got here? Okay, that's enough for this video. My 30 minutes is up. We'll see you in the next video.